All right, you ready? All right, so what we're going to do for the next 30, 45 minutes is we're going to talk through the intent behind what the customer is going to see on the screen that you're going to be sharing with them. So just to set the table, when you show up to the house, you're going to walk to the door, you knock on the door, and you're going to explain who you are and things of that nature. Your goal is to get to the dining room table so that you can open up your presentation and start working through that with the customer. If the customer doesn't have a dining room table, then your goal is to find a space, whether it be at a countertop or a bar top or the living room, whatever it is, find a space that you can sit down with the customer that's conducive for them to be interacting with you and the presentation. Okay, that's the goal. What I want to do now is I want to talk through the intent, because one of the objectives that we have in our 15 days is for you to be able, by day number 4, to be able to give the intent of each one of these slides in the presentation. So that's why I'm going to do it. So I'm going to give you the tools, I'm going to give you to have success, and it's your job to be able to take that and be able to do what I'm about to do in 2 days. So the first slide that customer is going to see when you open up Prezi is going to be this screen here. And so this screen shows 4 different bubbles. It shows different, shows selection, shows scope, shows order. And so these are kind of the different bubbles that we're going to go in and out of in order to basically guide this customer through the 10-step process. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into, and these, again, what I will say is that these are, when you get into the presentation, there's several different clicks, so not all these questions are going to pop up all at the same time. They'll come one at a time. But for the point of what we're trying to do, this exercise now of understanding the intent, I just want to make it a little bit easier. So this will be the first slide that you actually start talking through. And what you have is 5 questions. And again, those 5 questions are: how old are your home? How long have you owned it? How long have you been planning for this project? Have you ever had Home Depot provide installation service before? And what are the concerns with a project of this size? Now, the real intent here is for you to build trust through being an active listener, and through why you're such an amazing solution to this customer's problems. Now, the other thing that you'll find is that when you start to analytically look at these questions, you should be asking additional branching questions, but the branching questions that you ask should be based on the details of what objective-driven question. So if the customer is talking about, what do you mean by build? So I mean, you hired a contractor, because it opens up a dialogue for you to be able to understand, most importantly, how the individual has bought things in the past, so that you can create the same type of comfortable environment for them to buy things in the future. So from an analytical standpoint, there's only 16 types of customers that you'll ever come in contact with. I'm not going to dive all into that today, but when you look at it, I'll just give you kind of a sneak peek as to what I mean by that. Ask a customer how old their house is. There's only 2 answers they can give you. Now, they'll give you a variety of different circumstantial, but when you actually look at it, there's only 2 answers. It's either an old house or it's a new house. The year isn't really relevant. And so what you understand is that when you start looking at the equation, right, of the possible or probable answers that the customer can give you to those 5 questions, then you find that there's actually, every house is not as circumstantial as you may think. Only roughly 16 customers, not roughly, there's only 16 customers based on the answers to these questions that understand when it comes to closing, right? So anyways, the intent here is to what? Is to listen, is to ask good branching questions. But most importantly, the intent is through questions to build great trust with the customer. Okay, next slide. The next slide that we have here is identifying the existing problems. So what we're doing is, the last slide we were at the dining room table. Now we're working and moving into the actual kitchen with the customer. And so what we want to accomplish here is we want to let the customer know that we may or may not be the right person for them. And most of you go, well, hold on, why am I going in the house if I'm not the right person? Well, see, that's the problem. So often as a salesperson, we want to be the right person, And what we end up doing is imposing ourselves on the customer as opposed to going, hey, you know what? I want to identify what problems you got going on and even make sure that we're the right fit. Because we may not be the right fit for you. Oh my gosh, who would have ever thought about that? What you'll find is that that customer will then start selling you on the fact that you are the right fit to help them find the solution to their problem. So when we talk about the intent of this, moving into step number 2 now, this slide in particular, what we're doing is we're basically segueing from the dining room table into the kitchen going, hey, you know what? Let's see if we're actually compatible. Let's see if you're the right fit for us and we're the right fit for you. And how are we going to determine that? Well, we're going to determine that by actually seeing what the problems are and if our solutions align with what it is that can fix your problems. Next. All right, so after we've gone through and we've walked in that last slide through opening up doors and drawer fronts and identifying all the problems and whatnot, then we're going to return back to the dining room table and we're going to show the customer this slide. And the intent of this slide is to help guide and empower the customer towards making decisions. So there's a bunch of different types of styles. I want a kitchen. That's the biggest thing, right? Let's start funneling that decision down towards some more specifics. So are you looking for something more traditional, contemporary, coastal, country? I mean, what is it that what's the overall design that we're shooting for here? What is it that we're looking to, what types of kitchens are you interested in? And so that's really the intent, is to use generalization to help start to funnel that customer from I need a kitchen to what type of design is going to be the right fit for them. Next, can you go back one? I think you skipped over one. You didn't? Oh, okay, sorry. All right, so then we went from style. So if you remember earlier today, we went on the calendar, I showed a funnel that Natalie, last couple slides, or this slide in particular in relationship to the last one. So we now know the customer wants a specific style. They wanted a kitchen, now they want a specific style. Now we're going to talk to them about color and type. We're not pulling out the door samples and all that type of stuff yet, but we're helping this customer start to wrestle with the type of kitchen design and dream that they want for their finished product. And so the way to do that is because we're good at helping people make decisions. That's by asking good questions. These are 2 questions that we then need to ask. So the next part from an intentional standpoint is helping identify what the color, whether it be light or dark, and whether they're looking for painted or wood grain. So that's the intention of this slide, to be able to go by the end of it and go, the customer wants a kitchen, we've identified the problems, to the type of kitchen, they want something more coastal or more country, to now we're using their existing cabinets and they want a lighter kitchen than what's currently here, or they want a darker kitchen that's currently here, and they want something painted or they want something that's more wood grain, right? So now, as a sales rep, the great thing about this is that we have a pretty good idea as to what samples, because what did we talk about earlier today? We need to know our samples that's in our bag. At the end of this slide, we now should probably have a pretty good idea of whether or not that Paces door is actually with the, with the moonlight color is going to align with the type of kitchen that this customer is going to want. Okay, so that's the intent of this slide here. Then we're going to move into countertop and backsplash. We're not going to spend a lot of time on product knowledge for countertop and backsplash this week. We'll spend more time on it next week. But now we're going to talk through and ask the customer, is that something that they're interested in finding a solution for? That's the intent of this. Again, our main focus is cabinets. We are the cabinet experts. But as a convenience to the customer, we will also offer them countertop and backsplash. But it's not really one of the things that is our main driver, okay? So, but if the customer has a need, then we'll find a solution, and we have some solutions to provide for them. So that's the point, is so at this point in the presentation, the intent is to understand, again, a little bit more about the scope of the included backsplash. Next. And then lastly, for the step number 2, we're going to identify if the customer has organizational needs. And that really would have been discussed at the beginning of step number 2, because like I talked about yesterday, you're going to be opening up doors and drawer fronts, and the Tupperware is going to fall out, the pans are going to fall out, you're going to see cereal boxes fall out of places. And one of the things that you'll find is that the organization and functionality aspects of the kitchen are one of the more cost-effective things that we do for the customer, but it's actually one of the biggest impactful things that you can do as a designer, because those are really the problems. Taking care of like the facade, if you would, the color of the cabinets, that's an important piece to the overall aspect of the kitchen. But how the person actually functions with their organizational needs, that's where you hook them. Because they're like, oh my gosh, I can't let Leon leave, because if Leon leaves, then all my trash bags are going to keep falling out, and all my silverware is going to be all over the place, and I can't ever figure out where my Tupperware is. And he gave me some great ideas as to how we can better use my space. And so anyways, that would be just a little freebie that I threw out there for you. But the intent of this is really to be able to have a full understanding of if there's something that and then last in step number 2 is this slide, which is, did I miss anything? Again, we are so focused on being good listeners. I cannot stress the fact that if you want to be a great salesperson and somebody told you along the way that you're a great you have sales tendencies because you're good at talking, those are butts. You have to be a good listener. And so the intent of this is to make sure after the first 2 steps where we had a lot of different things going on, did I miss anything? And so at this point, you'll basically do an audit, what we call an audit. You'll talk about, these are the things in the first 2 steps that I understand. I understand who you are a little bit. I understand what the problems are with your project. And you're looking to find some solutions for those things. Are we on the same page? And so at this point, I will know whether or not, and the customer also will know whether or not we're actually a good fit. And that needs to be a commitment opportunity. So we talked about pre-close yesterday. This is also another pre-close. You need to gain commitment that you guys together, meaning you and the customer, are the right fit to solve the problems that you guys have identified together. And the way that you can do that is by being a great listener and communicating back, not all the things that you can do, but all the things that they've identified to you, going, hey, these are my issues. Here we go. I think I understand what your issues are. Is that correct? And the reason we audit and we verbalize back to that customer is because if we're unaligned, if we're not aligned, maybe you thought the problems were this and the customer thought the problems were this, we can go ahead and at that point go, oh, okay, sorry, I misunderstood. So these are the problems. Yes. Okay. And you would like to find solutions for those problems? Yes. Great. We're aligned. We can move forward. Okay. So that is the intent of this, is to be able to bring the entire thing full circle, to audit what you had been listening to make sure that you and the customer are on the same page before you continue on the journey together. Next. This is the next slide. So again, we've gone through slide 1 and 2, and we come back out and we go through, and now we're like, okay, all right, we knocked out one of these bubbles. And so this begins step number 3. Right? And we've spent a lot of time in the last 2 days on step number 3. The slide here, you guys should all kind of know this by now, but I'm going to continue to hammer it home so you do. Step number 3, slide number 1, these are the 5 concerns. These are the 5 questions that the customer has to answer, whether they're renovating a kitchen, renovating for. Right product. Right? I could have the right company, I could have the right products, I have the right installer, but if something happens down the road and the company's out of business, oh gosh, do I have the right warranty, right? And lastly, do I have the right investment? Do I have the right budget? Have I allocated enough money to be able to get the problem that I've identified actually solved? So those are the 5 things that you can expect when it comes to dealing with objections when it comes to the closing. And your job as you go through this process is to isolate the one, which is investment. That's what we want to negotiate on. That's what we want to deal with. If you get to it and they got to get other estimates and they don't understand, they don't believe that you have a good warranty or that they don't like your product, then I don't know what else I don't know how you're going to negotiate that, right? You didn't do a good job of building value. You want to be able to identify, isolate, and eliminate 4 of the 5 here so that you only have to deal with investment at the end. You do that, you build great value. Customers are going to want Home Depot, and they want the design. They want it installed the way that you lay it out, and they want the warranty that Home Depot provides. They just may or may not be able to think they can afford it. That we can deal with. We've got solutions to help them with that. You don't build value in the other things, you're SOL. I got no tricks, I got no strategies for helping you close if you're negotiating on the other 4, because you didn't do a good job building value. All right, so the intent here again is exactly that. Identifying those 5 questions that need to be answered in order for that customer to make a buying decision. Next is your cliche contractor. Reminding the customer of issues that they may have had in the past, or at least helping them identify that these are the biggest problems when it comes to getting what they may want, a solution to their problem. So a lot of times we look at a problem like, oh man, this is the problem I got. Well, there's problems within the problems within the solutions to your problem, right? So you got to make sure you know all the things you're getting into. The intent here is to go ahead and show that to the customer and go, these, those are the 5 things you got to answer. This is the biggest problem that you got to overcome. You got to make sure you got the right contractor, the right person that's going to be able to provide this. Next is your intent behind Home Depot. Again, sharing the value of why you believe what you believe. Why are you here? You are in the home to sell Home Depot. You're not in the home to sell kitchens. You're not in the home to sell makeover. You're here to sell Home Depot. The biggest brand in home improvement, the best way to make sure that you're able to get taken care of no matter what, the most convenient and trusted brand on the marketplace. That's what we're here to sell. Next. Next is your vested interest. This is us providing an analytical and logical argument to the emotional problems that we've identified up to this point. Basically bringing slide 1, 2, and 3 of 5 concerns, cliche contractor and Home Depot, bringing that all together and going, hey, let's talk about it. You could go one way or the other. How does it line up? And what you should be able to do is make that logical argument, going, hey, you know what, you're going to spend 30 grand. Here's what it means to this person. Here's what it means to this person. You make the decision. I don't particularly care. Like, there's a lot of dumb people out there, guys. Don't be one that doesn't choose Home Depot. Don't say that to Home Depot customers, by the way. Just please. Stupid. It's not really good sales strategy there. That's right. So next is the industry options. The customer identified the problem of needing a kitchen or some sort of solution to their kitchen. There's 3 ways to do it. You can renew it, you can renovate it, or you can make it over. Making sure that you know that you are here to share all the educational things that you can with the customer so that they know that they've got choices. And those are their choices. Then we're going to educate. The intent behind the renew is to educate that customer as to if they're going to renew, these are the 2 ways to do it. Do it yourself, which, as you can see, has $1 sign, which is cheap because it's just your time. Now, I don't know what your time's worth. Some people's time's worth less than others. But you can do it yourself, or you can have somebody professionally do it. The biggest downside of this is to let them know that it's not really a long-term solution. But if that's what you're okay with, then maybe we're not the right fit. So the intent here is to help the customer understand what is included in a renew solution. Next is the renovate solution, where we're going to talk about and share with that customer what renovate looks like. Tearing down walls, the proverbial wrecking ball. So we want to, if you want to write down anything for the intent, it's to articulate and communicate, impress upon that customer the wrecking ball coming through their house and more importantly, their home. Then you've got makeover. The intent here is to share with that customer that makeover is way more than just doors and drawer fronts. It's a complete transformation of the customer's kitchen. And then lastly, apples to apples. The intent here is to share with the customer the legwork that we've done of, hey, we don't particularly care what you got to spend. This is kind of, you can self-assess and see if you've budgeted properly. The intent for us is to go, these are the different types of kitchens. These are different types of price breakdowns. And the way that makeover fits in with this is that our value is that of a custom kitchen, and our price is typically that of an affordable. So now you know, no surprises, unless you're not listening. Okay? All right, so any questions to any of that? Post in the feed. Again, understand as we go back to our day 3. Sorry, I was looking at that one. Oh, so hold on. So are they seeing that or this?
You're frozen right now on mine.
This stream is fine. Just keep it.
I know, but are they seeing this or that? So I know what to talk through.
We're talking through day 3 of the kitchen script.
All right, sounds good. So again, as for day 3, you should now know that you're going to have an objective of what? Most importantly, knowing the script. I've said it several times now. By the end of tomorrow night, you have to know that 7-minute value proposition. You now have been equipped with the paperwork or the PDF version of what that looks like that has the slide and the verbiage attached to it, so you've got that. You should know the intent behind what it is that you're going to communicate to that customer. So we have now what you need to be able to hit that objective. The other things that you need to start adding as you have your own quadrants out, right, should be the other things that we've been talking through, which is day 4, 5, and 6. So if there's things that you need to start doing to make sure that maybe you're not very good with measuring, maybe you're not good with the product, maybe you're not good with this, you need to start adding objectives to your quadrant going, hey, you know what? I know that Jared and Natalie and Andrew are giving me specific types of work. I might need to start adding some additional objectives to make sure that I can make sure that I'm on pace to hit my 15-day objectives. But as for day 3, again, we've made it so that you can really focus on this because I understand the undertaking of learning a script, that it's not the easiest thing in the world. So that's why we've made it that that's the only thing that you really have to be accountable for on day number 3, so that you have plenty of time today and tomorrow to get that thing figured out. Then you should be able to see some of the other things that we're going to be working towards, whether it be measuring, pricing, product, as we're working towards our overall goal of day number 10, making sure that we're able to utilize all the tools that we have available. Next. That's it? All right. So I gave you a surplus of 34 minutes today. That's pretty good. So now you've got extra time to be able to catch up on anything that you need to, or spend more time focused on the things that we've laid out for you. But again, it's pretty straightforward. You know, we've got to get these baseline things down so that we can start adding. As you can see, hopefully you start to understand, like, we're trying to give you these things in a manner that will help you kind of have accomplishment so that you can add on, right? So like the products, for example, getting that product knowledge down to go, okay, I know what this door is, plus this thermofoil, the name, plus the thermofoil or wood, plus the species. I'm sorry, geez, I'm moving too quickly. Now I need to back up, sorry. My point being is, when you looked at the doors, for example, it's a great thing to understand what we need to continue to do with all the different tools that we're teaching you. Take the opportunity to focus on the things that we're giving you, like the door, learn the door, the image, learn the name, learn the type of door that it is, and learn the finish of it, so that then you can build on top of that much easier and going, okay, now I need to know all the different colors that it comes in, or this connects with this, or door trees, or all these other things that we're going to be giving you. So anyways, take the time, learn the things that we're giving you for the time being, knowing that we're on pace. Make sure that you stay on pace and on task with your objectives and accomplishments. And know that today's objectives, by the end of the day, you got to know nomenclature, you got to know calendar, task, quad, and funnel, which are pretty simple. Should be. And that's all I got for today. I give you back your extra 32 minutes. It's remarkable, isn't it?